I'm going to correct her, not because she doesn't know them, no, but we have our own actual spelling for it. So Saudi Arabia is from Al Saud. So my father was Saud bin Abdulaziz, and my family is Al Saud. Thank you, Leila, and God bless you. May I, Virginia, can I get my eyeglasses? Sometimes I use them because I'm getting old. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Catherine Lenihan, President of the National Women's Club, and Mrs. Leila Kunis, thank you very much for inviting me for this evening at this place with such lovely people. When Leila actually invited me and she told me, what would you like to talk about? And I said, what do you need me to talk about? It's actually, you know, I talk a lot around the world about so many things, but everybody always tells me what to talk about, what they want me to talk about. She said, you know, just choose anything. And I said, all right, I'm gonna be tonight talking to the women of the world and what the world needs. And I think this is the right place to do it, and this is the right place where I can start actually my mission after going around all around the world and doing speeches in universities. So I behold everybody tonight, trustee of my and our plight towards enlightenment and spreading peace and reform rather than revolutions around the world. So please do help me be a united team, a women's team that can include, if we like, some men. And I hope the men of today who are listening right now and who have been graceful enough to come to this evening would really help us in achieving what we should achieve and what we need around the world. A peaceful world where trouble is erupting everywhere, revolutions are coming up in every form, in every way. And it's not only the revolutions around the Middle East that I think are erupting, it's revolutions all around the world in different forms, in different phases. So this is the time, I think, of women getting together and saying to the man, enough. You have done quite enough of damage. And it's about time. Well, I don't see any men clapping. Right. Well, the Greek Empire has been gone by, and the women and the men of the Greek men have done beautiful job and leaving us such beautiful philosophers. But nonetheless, they don't exist anymore. Greece is falling under economical disasters. So I think the women of Greece should roll their sleeves and start building Greece, and from there we'll have another Olympus. So I think we're going to have a nice discussion tonight in a Q&A afterwards. But definitely I want to leave here with a peace mission, a united mission. I've got an organization called the Lanterns that unites people all around the world and connects them. An organization which holds a platform for all women and men who shed a light on a certain problem in the world. I've got human trafficking lantern in our board. I've got another lady who fights actually for teenagers, girls to get educated in Afghanistan. I've got another a father, Catholic, who is fighting for interreligious dialogue in Syria. And so many are coming on board, and I'm thankful to each one of them that are making the platform of the lanterns. So I hope one day one of you and some of you will be joining that platform so we can shed more light into so many problems that are erupting all around the world. Every time a lantern joins us, we light a spot in our actually map, and it's a beautiful map. And one day we'll do the presentation so you can see the map all lit with the lanterns of the world. Tonight is one of the most interesting nights of my life because I have my children with me. And I cherish it because I think they're the ones who are going to be carrying my message, our message, the woman's message. And one of them is my son, and my other son who's not here tonight because he's in university in Saudi Arabia. And really planting the first seeds that makes us or brings us to humanity as we knew it one day, where people used to sit on a table peacefully and have grace in all languages, in Hebrew, in Arabic, in Latin, with nobody knocking on the door and telling them what language or what religion are you praying with. So this is very important times in our lives that we should be holding together the candle to the future of our generations who are coming, taking over in the world, because there's a vacuum, and this vacuum should be filled with the proper leaders of tomorrow. And I see that we can make the way for them and just teach them how to be leaders, simply. Because if you don't teach people how to be leaders, they will never be able to lead nations. And the United States of America is leading the world right now. So I think it's about time that we choose a woman leader for the United States. And maybe one of them will be here tonight, hearing me. And I think this is the only way for peace, personally. Because I've seen lots of disasters made by the name of democracy, of liberty, freedom, equality, but I don't see any of it anywhere. So it's very strange that I look all around and I don't see that, and I look forward to empower another lady in this country to become the United States president that would lead the world into prosperity and reform. Finally, I'm going to read from my paper. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for making this event possible, and I'm delighted to be here with you all, and it's an honor. I note with admiration that you were founded by suffragettes almost 100 years ago, which is quite an achievement. And I think your club is one of a kind that should be replicated all around the world. This is a club that should be an example for all of us to look up forward to, and for women to have as a place to be cultured, to be leaders of the world, of the community, whether they're presidents or whether they're anywhere down the road, leading generations to come. I have my own understanding of what it takes to further the cause of women in the world, and so your long history as suffragettes is one I salute. I was always pleased to see that your founder, Henrietta Wells, Livermore, attended Wellesley College, which I had the honor to speak at a month ago. Sometimes when I listen to the others talk about women's rights, I'm struck by how differently they frame them to me. And I find all women's rights and problems are just the same. But women's rights, you see, I'm with an allergy, and it's a spring allergy. Anybody shares it?
Yeah.
Good. But women's rights are not the only kind of rights that are sadly under support in today's world. Sometimes when I listen to others talk about women's rights, I'm struck by how differently they frame them. Far away from unconsented to any other kind of rights. To me, women's rights are best served by consideration not in exclusion, but instead as part of the broader effort in which many different kinds of rights are served. Perhaps your institution has sympathy for what I mean. I think the Women's Club know exactly what's happening down the road in the States and overseas, and that we all share the same problems wherever we go as women. And it's actually fascinating that wherever I go, I hear the same thing, but in a different language, in a different shade. But at the bottom of the line, I always hear the same problems that we all share. Maybe we don't share all the same rights to express what we have to do and what we have to say in different societies. But definitely, we all have the magic wand. And I think women around the world have power to change, because they are the ones who are raising generations to come. They are the ones who are nurturing men in their laps, and they're breastfeeding the milk of power and injustice. And it's about time that we turn around and we look at ourselves within. Where did we go wrong? Where did the women go wrong among history? That we have created such a world that is just so unjust and so unfair and is fed by power and money, and nothing else is connected to mercy and soul control. I know that a long time ago here in the States you had soul music, and I wondered always, why did they call it soul music? And now I think I just found out because it comes right from down the soul of the person and really reaches up to your heart. And I just heard tonight that some resolutions were made by jazz and by jeans, and that wars were conquered by actually really passing over the art of culture rather than teaching them how to shoot each other. So it is very important for us to know that we all share a responsibility to change. We all share the responsibility to make something out of our power that we hold, out of our name and position. Wherever we are, we're either in the States, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, anywhere in the world, we have the power to change. And we will never do that except when we believe in our causes. When we believe there is a hope. When we believe that there is a tomorrow. When we believe that the world can change. Not only by giving speeches at the Women's Republican Club, but really in the decision-making places. And this is a serious stuff that we're talking about, not over dinner and nice tea and in a 5-star hotel. No, we have to address the masses. We have to address the woman down the street. We have to address the woman in the valleys, in the mountains. We have to address the whole societies that are suffering right now as we eat our dessert and baklava. We have a lot of sugar that we can spread around the world. I'm not calling to be a communist or a socialist. This is not what I mean at all. But what I mean is that we have a wealth of education and thoughts and culture that we can share with these people and teach them how to spread it along down the road. I'm saying that we have to be responsible about our commitments to societies. If we commit to society a cause, we have to roll our sleeves and go down as Eisenhower did one day, as my grandfather King Abdulaziz did one day, and when he united a whole piece of land that was never been united before. And he didn't do it by war, he did it by marriage. That's an art. So here at the end of the day, what I'm saying really is we have to learn the art of love, the art of peace, and we have to believe that it is achievable. It's not a Prince Saudi Arabian princess dream. No, it's not. It's a message. It's a message called the Fourth Law, which I'm working on. It's a constitution. It's a humanitarian constitution that calls for sanctions on the countries that do not abide by humanitarian laws. I call on P5 for humanitarian rights. I call upon governments to get together and apply as much sanctions on countries that do not apply and implement humanitarian rights. And thus, this is the only way to escape revolutions. Revolutions were not made because somebody wanted the power only, but because people had enough. They had enough of violating human rights. I'm just going to leave my speech on the side and I'm going to carry on if you don't mind. I think everybody had enough, and everybody thought by the revolutions we're going to have rights, women's evolving into their positions and getting somewhere along the line and joining the men in their ventures and leading the world into a better place. And what I saw is a completely different story. I saw women's rights being ripped out of their soul. I saw women going behind the scenes more than ever. I saw women going where they weren't before. And this is bad. This is really bad. So everybody have to see what I'm seeing. We have to unveil to the world what revolutions are making. They're making monsters. I know. They told me, look at the French Revolution. It took them 100 years to go to settle down and have a superb, lovely society and rules. And I was in France 3 months ago, and I was asked to join the Ministry of Women to help them do something about women's gender equality in education. And I thought, France, after what, 700 years of revolution, is making a ministry for women, and they're asking for gender equality in education. So what kind of revolution is this? What did they do during that 700 years? So if they were going to tell me, actually, look at the French Revolution the next time, I'm going to pinpoint with them. what I saw. I saw a country which is dead economically. You wouldn't recognize Paris, the lovely France, which everybody looked at. And the most abused women in the world are in France. So this is, everybody has to Google it and see it. We have more rights maybe in the Middle East than France, but we don't have laws to protect us. So there is imbalances all around the world that is shaking everybody. And I think this is the time where we can fill the gap, where we can actually make something out of the revolutions, economical instabilities, the fall of Wall Street, homelessness, people who are crying for education, for old age and retirement. There's a big, huge problems around the world. And I think women right now are the ones who are going to be giving the answers, not men. Why? Not because they are not bright and beautiful, lovely husbands and sons, but because they have put us in a big, huge whirlwind like the Wizard of Oz. And we're just swapped by this whirlwind, and we don't know where we are right now. And if I ask anybody, do you know what's happening in Saudi Arabia or in Kuwait or in Egypt, they would tell me, yes, there is a revolution, but do you know what destruction there is? Did anybody know how much people are suffering? Civilizations have been swapped in 1 year from the face of the earth. Syria, who has survived 30th century, is the first city that's been recognized in the world, have been swapped. Aleppo, Damascus, lots of places that had culture, the oldest cultures in the world. Iraq, they haven't left a piece standing of culture. You couldn't now recognize Damascus, you couldn't recognize Egypt, and I think the next thing in line for the Muslim Brotherhood is going to be destroying the pyramids. So, is the world going to be standing and looking over the pyramids that stood for thousands of years as a treasure for the world? It's not for the Egyptians only, it's for the pharaohs, it's for the world. And Damascus, my dear old Damascus, that was filled with beautiful culture and the most beautiful streets that I've ever seen in my whole life, has been destroyed totally. So this is what the men of today have done to our cultures. And I'm being truthful. You know, I'm not trying to put the blame on the men around here in this place, but I mean men as a whole. They have not treasured art. They have not treasured the soul. They have not treasured what makes a human being, which is sympathy, love. I know it. I don't want to sound like the 60s or the hippies or the Beatles. But there is something missing here. And we've missed it along the way, and we did not actually look back and say, where did it go? Where did we lose it along this way? Where did we lose that sympathy towards each other? Where did we lose our tolerance towards each other, each religions? When I was raised in Beirut, I didn't know who was sitting next to me. I was raised in a convent. My mother was a very devotee Muslim who was Syrian. But she became a Saudi Arabian when she was 13, when she was actually married to my father. I didn't know. She put me in a Christian school and Catholic school. I didn't know who was next to me. There was Shias, Sunnis, Catholics, Jews, you name it, there was the students next to me. But I never asked. They never asked who I was. I never asked what their religion was. Now, crimes are being made in the name of the Holy Ghost and the religion and Muhammad and sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the name of Jacob and the name of Abraham and then poor men who suffer in their name. People are killing each other while God has sent them to make peace upon this earth. People are making wars in their names. So I think, personally, and I'm just here to talk to everybody, to reach out, that we all can start to connect to each other, to lighten the map in the world with voices of peace, voices of enough is enough. We have to have a humanitarian team versus governments that is not against governments, but that helps governments in achieving their intents and purposes without wars and revolutions. I'm against making revolutions and taking over the power to whoever is there. Why? There's a very good reason, because there's nobody to replace them, and we can see it right now. We have taken, in a moment of enough is enough, all the people in power over there, but we have not thought for a minute who are we going to be putting over there. There's nobody to replace them, so why replace them in the first place? Why not work with them to reform, and by pushing the right buttons from different places of the world? If the United States of America, with, let's say, the Soviet Union, let's say with all the great powers, the EU and everybody, works on the humanitarian side rather than selling arms and backing this and backing that one and doing this, and we will not actually come out with anything. We know we're just leaving destructions everywhere we go. That's why I thought there must be something that we can replace all the existence bills around the world, and I came out with something called the fourth law. The fourth law is simply something very simple to understand, and it's not actually something of my invention. It's not an invention, it's just an equation. It's built on 4 pillars: security, freedom, equality, and education. To all. So if you cover these 4 pillars and you give it to people, regardless of gender and color and religion, you would have peace, and you would have the day-to-day person protected. His freedom is there, and his equality with all the rest of the world is there, and education is the pillar of progress in the world. If you guarantee these 4 things, and then you tailor, each country tailors what they want into that law, will prosper not in the name of democracy or socialism or communism, but will prosper in the name of humanity. Pure humanity with no politics inside. The politicians can do their business, and we all do ours. And ours is definitely a completely different agenda, but we can work together for the prosperity of the world. And this is what I call for. Reform, prosperity to every single person in the world. I know it's impossible, but we try. By stepping the first step, the baby steps. And I think there is a very famous Chinese proverb that says, the trip of 1,000 miles begins with a mile, and I'm stepping the first mile, and I want you to join me in my trip towards 1,000 miles.
Princess will take some questions. First question.
Well, this is always really difficult when we talk about women's rights and whatever. And there's actually no question that the world would be better if women had been given better opportunities. But the other thing I say is that as women move forward, I request that you always look for the best person to move us forward, man or woman. And
Oh,
the
definitely.
problem is, as this pressure goes for women's rights, you're overpowering men that they should have a say in the way we should go.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's no balance in the world if we don't have both at the same
You don't
time.
have a chance to get balance when there was no balance when men did.
Definitely, definitely, and that's why this is a very good, important point, is the balance. Men have to give half of their seats to women.
There's no question that's going that way.
So, we don't have time to wait. We have to make, the transaction very fast as a tweet.
Choose your best people. There are good men who will help you.
Well, if I choose them, would they come on board?
Yes, they will help you. Yes, they will help you.
Perfect. If I'll take you as the first one, and you would choose the rest of the team. No, I mean it.
I mean it too.
Good. Please.
While it's taken the United States 250 years to realize that our next president would probably be a woman.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
That's a function of democracy. Do you think that
Doesn't mean democracy.
Do you think that that environment is actually where women could be in a position of leadership, country leadership? Do you think that environment exists in the Middle East?
Does this environment exist where? In the Middle East? Oh, definitely. It's a very good, actually, soil to plant right now. It's it's the time of planting seeds. And if we take this revolutions into consideration, that we have to push the women to the front rather than put them at the back, it's the right time to do that. But
Is that reality though in the Middle East?
it's not. But that's what I'm saying.
It just seems like such an improbability.
Well, it was an improbability also when I heard that until now women were not actually allowed to be at the front lines in the United States of America, except lately. I thought that I didn't even know it existed, and I thought until now in Jordan they are at the front lines since 50 years. So in the States, you just gave them that honor. So what is applicable here is applicable there. So yes, it is. As it is here, it is here. But, thank you. But what is most important is that we have to be one team to do that. You're a woman, I'm a woman, she's an activist, she's the head of the Republican club. We can all be a team in achieving something, and believe me, we can, with men like the gentleman over there. Thank you.
One more question.
I'd like to bring the issue I don't know how to put it in.
Oh, any vision is a good vision.
That's the thing, right? We don't know who came first. We really know. But biologically speaking, men come to the woman. life began. We don't know how it happened. The reason can say this and that, but the Lord speaks life changed. And I believe that if you think about dignity, woman, her own dignity to man, there is something valuable, nothing to compare with than this concept, dignity. If you're united, convinced of this principle, dignity of a human being, male or woman, there is no difference.
True.
Man and woman.
We couldn't hear what the gentleman said, please, we couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear him.
He's talking about dignity. It doesn't matter actually if you're a woman or a man. If you have your dignity, you're a human being. So this is the really issue and vision, is that men came from women, not the other way around. It's not the egg first or the chicken first. So yes, dignity is the most important thing in the world. Actually, if you have it, you can't lose it.
We have another question.
Yes,
Thank you very much, Princess. for
Thank
the
you.
speech. It was very, very inspiring, and
Speak
what I
loud.
want to wish for you.
Can't hear you.
Thank you very much for your inspiring speech.
Thank you.
And as a New Yorker, I want to welcome you, Marhaba. I want to say that I lived in the Middle East and North Africa and am very familiar with the culture. So the question I have for you is, would you recommend on a practical basis, from what you say is very philosophical, on a practical basis, would you recommend establishing quotas for state, local, or government officials to have a certain percentages of women represented?
You mean, is it possible? Is it possible in real life to do that in the Middle East? You mean? Anywhere? Of course. I mean, I think personally, if you press the right button, if you speak the right language, and if you have the right mindset, you can do it. But if you just speak around tables and dinners, and this is what you want to achieve in life, is being heard in the media, but not real implementation. You do not come with that engine to make it happen. It won't happen. You have to create the engine for the body of the car, so it will actually accelerate and go further. And this is what we need. We need an engine. We need an engine for the women to be able to accelerate and go forward in implementing what we are talking about tonight. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
We thank you for being with us, and we'd like to present this.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I would answer you. Don't worry.
Our Constitution says all men are created equal, and that the man is mankind, created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. In this country, we have gradually, through wave after wave of immigration and over our course, our life, have broadened that to include women, minorities. Slaves have been emancipated. Woodrow Wilson started the League of Nations here. The United Nations was started here. The United Nations and the League of Nations have not always been effective, but let me get to it. It seems that you need a voice, that you need a transnational Congress of Women, possibly could be formed under the auspices of the United Nations as a non-governmental agency. There are other forces like that. For instance, the Catholic Church. It has no political power, but it does have moral power. And a Congress like this would perhaps be a voice for women who are sent from various countries to speak, discuss, have symposia which could be published. This would give you a voice. You need a voice that's respected worldwide. Think about that.
But I'd love them to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank my committee. All the ladies on the committee, please stand up. We thank you. And thank you all. I want to thank Carol and our chef for the wonderful evening.